Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and it's been a little while since I uploaded something on the channel, mostly because I've been busy over on the main channel working on a lot of cool history stuff. It should be out by now, but I have been working on a particular episode on the Roman legions, how they basically prepared their meals and their dinner. So we talk about the supplies, what type of supplies they get. We talk about rations, non-rations, talk about methods of food preparation, the types of food they ate. It's all kinds of interesting stuff that I'm sure you'll appreciate. And then I have a bunch of other follow-up episodes that I've been putting together to go up shortly after that video. So a ton of stuff going up on the main channel. If you haven't seen it already, just check it out. And that's why I've been a little bit quiet as of late on this channel. But yeah, my main focus is history. Now, with that being said, I did want to bring you a replay of Warhammer 2, still my favorite game for multiplayer at the moment, and it's going to be against the Gobbo King. So he's going to be fielding the Dark Elves, and I have here the High Elves, so a classic matchup. Really interesting as of late with some of the Regiments of Renown. I really like them, and particularly for the High Elves, what I've done here is I've interspersed some Swordmasters of Hoeth with spearmen, and in the center I have the Regiment of Renown spearmen. Here, what are they called again? Scions of Mathlon. So these guys are freaking awesome. They have like I think it's Guardian ability and Encourage ability, and they'll kind of buff up your line. So they're really good at sticking in the center. Pure Main Company is actually the one with Guardian, I believe. So as you know, as long as they're close to your lords, they'll help them out. And then I have two archers. So this is a nice little nestled composition. On the flanks, I have some cavalry moving forward. Illyrian Reavers here, very light cav, shot cav that I wanted to knock about some of his unarmored infantry if I had the chance. And then on this flank, I have some more Vanguard deployed forces, Illyrian Reavers, and then a Dragon Prince force closing in. And then I also brought a Tyrannok chariot here. Kind of interesting, just because I wanted to maybe try and kite at the Dark Elves and knock about some of their weak infantry. But we'll see what he brought. Right off the start, we're having a bit of a crazy engagement in the sense that we both Vanguard deployed. So he has his Dark Riders with shields getting out, trying to get behind my lines. But luckily, it just turned out that with the terrain and the deployment of my forces, I should be able to nab these guys and block their escape. But on this side, he kind of has me pinned down, so I have to fall back to my archers. As for the Gobbo King's army, well, he has these Dark Riders with shields, 3 of them, as we've seen, kind of trying to get around my flanks. In the center, he does have a Dreadlord, so going a little bit cheap on his Lord selection, but flying out over my force, trying to spy on me. And then his main line here has 3 of these Blackheart Corsairs, just always cost effective, with a Sorceress of Death, gonna be pretty deadly there. And then 3 of these handbows. It looks like just 2 of them here. I could have sworn there was another one. But 2 of those there. He has some Blackguard of Nagaron on both flanks, and then the Chill of Sontar, the War Hydra. So enough of that. Let's go ahead and press play and get going here. There he goes, coming down the hill at me. And my Tyrannok chariots are going to start to kind of pepper his front lines. His handbows are relatively short range, so I'm just going to go ahead and pluck away at them. The AI here, always kind of targeting the flank of a force, is really not going to do too much. He still has pretty good health, and I'm doing almost nothing there, and he's closing in rather quickly, but I'm hoping the second he stands still, I can start to do more damage. And the threat of this chariot knocking into his infantry is perhaps, you know, a powerful threat in being, at least. On this flank here, I'm continuing to circle around, hit his Dark Riders, but this is 2 forces against 1. Even if I catch up to it, it means that my Dragon Princes are out of you know, the key position in the battlefield, so I have to be careful. But the chariot here is going to be enough to buy time. I can run into his guys. The Blackguard and other units aren't here just yet, so yeah, this is going to be a little delaying tactic. Meanwhile, over here, he's trying to circle around, and I do nab him somewhat with my forces, so this is where I'm going to rally and hold. The light versus the dark here. Us slaughtering a couple of the riders, so pretty glorious. And the war horns there sounding, that's epic as hell. But we can't get too far ahead of the force. So here we go, my guys swarming back to our lines. That's pretty glorious. And then my spearmen pulling up. A couple bows going to be firing, and I'm moving a bit aggressively towards the center. Looks like he's going to crash headlong into my Tyrannok chariots. Put this on slow motion as I come down the hill with Illyrian Riders, gonna smash into his guys here. He was hoping to knock out my chariots rather quickly, but it looks like things are gonna work out in my advantage here. Although with this Lord coming in, he could try and knock out my guys here, but he doesn't have much range, or at least range with enough striking power here to really punish my guys. so I'll be okay. And meanwhile, I'm just going to button up in the back over here with my my defensive position, throw some cavalry in the back to guard, and then just start plucking away at his forces. So here he goes. He's trying to come in here with the Dreadlord to support. That's kind of dangerous because my bows are going to start to focus fire. He's going to have to pull on out of there. Ooh, doing a backflip to get out. Chariots were continuing to pluck away at them. But here comes that Hydra. That's pretty scary. So got to be careful, but at least I'm unleashing my guys against his hand bows, keeping them away, doing fairly significant damage against him. But here comes the main crush of the force. He's going to land a charge in the back, so I'm redeploying my spearmen to try and greet that. But look at that, he has a couple forces coming around the flank, so this could prove deadly if he hits my pure main company. They are facing the right direction, they are braced, and they do have a couple abilities on them, so, you know, this could hurt. Let's see how this comes in. This on slow motion. Yeah, it looks like I will intercept a little bit of this, but my guys are not braced at the time of the charge. So this is going to be pretty punishing. Sending my guys bowling. I'm going to hit my archers, so that's pretty punishing. Meanwhile, magic from the Lore of Death going to be doing a fair amount of damage to me. But yeah, strikes on all fronts. Meanwhile, I did get a cheeky strike with my Illyrian Reavers, kind of disrupting his main position here. And yeah, just doing as much disruptions as I can to buy time for my archers, who are meanwhile just trying to pluck away at this Dreadlord, who is now closing in. He's pushing back on my flanks. My Dragon Princes would love to get in on this Hydra, but the threat of these Blackguard is still something I have to be worried about. I'm just going to pull back with my dudes. And there she goes, charging in, Sorceress, the Lore of Death. But against my Swordmasters, I think I should be able to take this pretty well. Bleak Swords are going to charge in, dual wielding, try and take out my guys, but I think this will be a pretty good exchange for me. I can hold out fairly well. But look at this, he's cleaning up my archers in the rear. I deployed a lot to try and knock those Dark Riders, and it meant that he was able to sneak in here. But coming in to support are going to be some of my guys helping out to rebuff this. But now if these Blackguard get stuck into the center, or on this flank, that'll be a big thorn in my side. I don't have anything here that can respond. 2 Illyrian Reavers and Archers. These Blackguard are going to be super punishing, so I perhaps have to send in my Noble and maybe even the Pure Main Company to deal with those guys. But meanwhile, I'm at least holding here with my Swordmasters. And in the center, we're getting a lot of focus fire on this Hydra, with my Archers still having lots of free reign. And I've committed the Dragon Princes to try and take that Hydra out. There is some, threats here. Blackguard of Nagaron, 2 handbows, a lot of damage being dealt with my guys. But I really wanted to get it off the battlefield. My chariots here, I was hoping to have them disrupt. So yeah, we have different places on the battlefield being very much disjointed. I really want to take this guy out, but it may be to the detriment of my shock cab. Yeah, there we go. Blight cast on them, and they're going to end up running. But in the distance over there, take a look. Alariel going to be healing up my cluster of infantry. So, he may be dedicating a lot of guys to get my Dragon Princes off the battlefield. But over here, the light of Alariel going to be shining down on us, really helping to keep my guys alive. So this is going to be a close fought engagement. We may trade flanks here. But the Blackguard holding out. As we can see here, I didn't have much of a counter, but the Swordmasters do stand strong, and just as I say that, of course, Martial Prowess does pop. Or, I can't remember what it's called. Is it Deadly Mastery? I can't remember. But anyways, it's going to proc for the Dark Elves, so now they're going to start to turn the tide a little bit against me. I have to pull out these Illyrian Reavers here soon. I'm just keeping them here pinned, just for the time being, to keep these Blackguard stationary, while the rest of my guys perhaps get into position. Over here, Swordmaster is training decently, and luckily I do still have my Tyrannok chariots still alive and kicking, and my bows were trying to fire away, but the Dreadlord did come in and try and disrupt them. But I should be able to fend him off there. And there you go. I'm going to pull out some of my Illyrians, try and reform a little bit with what I have, and get some bows back online, up and running. That Sorceress has a lot of Winds of Magic left on her, and I have to keep her out of position because she can get a lot of stuff on me, stripping my armor and doing a lot of damage. On the center, take a look at this. His handbow is going to be vulnerable. Ooh, completely unbraced. That's going to throw a lot of them running. Meanwhile, these white lines are going to do work against their numbers. So that was a nice, clean pickup for me. Very happy to have gotten that. And Bo is going to be firing wherever they find the opportunity to. And over here I'm going to get more spells popped on my guys, but the enemy, meanwhile, is going to get their own spells. So this is where the meat of the action is taking place, at least in the magic department, with tons of stuff going down here to try and murder each other. But it looks like my noble single-handedly holding back the black guard. That is awesome. Alariel in the mix, trying to help out. And it looks like she did tip the tides in favor of these Sword Masters of Hoth. So now we can collapse in on the center. Bo is going to be taken out, but I think I'm winning this. However, over here, he should get a little bit of regen on his Hydra, and I'm starting to run out of options to counter it. Meanwhile, there is also this Dreadlord going to be sniping away my forces, and he's going to have some cleanup here as well. So I'm getting whittled down pretty handily, and I have to desperately route some of his bows. If he gets bows in the late game, or at least ranged units in the late game with armor piercing, that's going to be really punishing. There you go, Faz protection to try and help me out. He's going after my other pair of archers, or other set of archers. Spearmen luckily are going to be here to reinforce. But we'll see what that does. He is buying time for the Hydra to get in here, and not much I can do to repulse that. No archers left running. I'm going to try and disengage with my guys, but it looks like that window has passed. And I'm forced to kind of stand here. Black Guard going to be committing themselves. Oh, that's an awesome animation. Yeah, and with the enemy Lord coming in, it's really, really dangerous. I do have Alariel in here to try and help out, to turn the tide. Bo is trying to disengage themselves to fire in. And meanwhile, over here, we are cleaning up this position, charging in with my noble to finally clean up the Black Guard. So I do have a cluster of units that can pull back into the fight, but we're really down to almost nothing. A couple of the units for the enemy routing here. I do have my Pure Main Company. Need to bring them back around my Lord and Alariel here. But yeah, this is an interesting battle. Favor is, Balance Bar does say it kind of favors my enemy somewhat, probably because he still has the Sorceress and his own Lord at high health, and a Hydra. So he has some good elite units here and there. But yeah, it looks like he's going to try and snipe Alariel. So unfortunately, she's going to have to get out of here with her glowing trail and abandon the forces there on the hill to their doom. It's a sad day for them, but they're going to have to be sacrificed here for the good of the army. Yikes. He's forced to discontinue the chase because I have my my noble nearby, but it's really hard to do this. Luckily, I do have Earthblood, so I can start to regen on my forces nearby. This is really going to help her out. So here comes a little bit of a snipe here. Pure Main Company, get in there. And there you go. Galloping away with the reinforcements nearby. Man, this is close. This monster is roaming around with its little henchmen. Bows are back online, just a couple of them, and that should be enough to help tip the tide here. I'm slowly whittling away at the enemy's numbers. I gotta stay really careful. Take a look here. Spirit Leech cast on my noble. And keep an eye on the health on this noble. This is going to get really close. So what he's trying to do is snipe away at my key valuable units. He still has a fair amount of Winds of Magic. And if he can take out my guys, this will be really, really dangerous. It could get a chain route, and if he takes away these nobles, then he can just, you know, then I don't have anything that can really withstand both of his heroes charging in. And he can do a ton of damage and then just one by one pick me apart. So it's crucial to keep this noble alive. Take a look at him. He's dropping to 300 health. And now I'm going to pop this star here. My noble is going to crawl into its shining light, and this is just going to start to get him to heal up in time. Star of Avalon going to pull him back from the brink of death, thank God. And then here you go, he's going to start to like I said, creep his way back into good health. Let's watch that meter. 415 here. The Hydra going to come after him, but it looks like he's made it into the good graces of the light. Let's get this from a cinematic perspective. So that was super clutch for me. He's now committed to the Black Guard, but just being in here is going to be absolutely critical. Faz protection as well. We're going to allow him to tank it out. So, God, this is such a cool aura and ability. There you go, even more healing and abilities on my guys. So my noble back up, topped off, ready for combat, and that very well may have decided the battle for me. Had he tanked Like I said, that could have caused a chain rout on the rest of my forces, and then he could have ganked me with the remaining flying lords, like he's trying to do here. Not much I could have done from that. That Hydra is still an issue, but here he goes chasing after me. But I'm going to decide to turn and take this action. He's pretty low health, and Alariel, despite not being the best in melee, can still probably take this enemy. And there goes the enemy caster there trying to get in at me, but the butterflies for my protection are going to be nearby. Oh, Archer's going to try and ping him, but here he goes, trying to gank my guys one at a time. Back into the center, I've been forced to pit everything against this Hydra with still good health, but luckily the Dragon Princes come back into the action, and their high stats are going to help me dispatch this Hydra. Meanwhile, over here, I am able to circle around and kill this Sorceress of Death, or at least send her on her way. And with that, the enemy does finally collapse. So that was an epic fight. Thank you, Gobbo King. He's a great player. He was taking it a little bit easy on me on some of these matches, at least in terms of choosing the composition. He didn't go with anything that was super meta. Choosing a fairly balanced, I would say, build, and then playing it definitely very well. And I pulled it up by the skin of my teeth there. That epic battle for the noble was pretty nail-biting when it was actually in combat, so that was really great. So he's an awesome player. If you don't know, he won a recent Total War tournament that was hosted by Turin and others. That was really great. If you hadn't seen it, I think Turin has it posted on his channel. But yeah, Gobbo King, great player. I really enjoyed this match, and I pulled a lucky one off. We had a couple more matches where I was stomped. I'll try and share some of those with you, as I don't want to just share the victory, but I felt like this one was just the closest fought battle. I mean, the rest I kind of got steamrolled, and this makes for the best viewing. So yeah, I definitely want to be upfront. Like, I lost most of these fights, and I don't want to just share the only victory, but I do want to share like the most interesting one or the most fair one in terms of battle. So I think this one counts as it. But yeah, I'll take a look at the other replays, and hopefully they're not as much stomps as I'm remembering, and maybe I'll be able to bring those to you. So let's end the replay here and take a look at the final kill counter on both sides, see who did what. So on my side, those Swordmasters were just indispensable for eating through his Blackguard Corsairs. The healing on them was really awesome, and even these Spearmen doing fairly decently. You expected them to get torn up by some of the infantry of the Dark Elves, but I think the matchups just meant that they were kind of holding the line for the most part and traded okay. Tyrannok Chariot was probably too expensive, didn't get much done. I kind of brought it as a little gimmick in the sense that I wanted something that could kite, but that could also, bowl over his infantry. He didn't have any Sisters of Slaughter or any Witch Elves, although probably this isn't good against Witch Elves because rampaging, it sucks. But anyways, I just wanted to bring it to experiment, and it didn't do too much. Probably would have benefited from maybe a little bit more infantry or a little bit more cavalry. And then the pair of archers don't seem like they did too much in terms of damage, but with a chevron here, it was definitely very important for knocking down the health of this Hydra, and then also plinking away at the Sorceress of Death, etc. So overall, really well fought battle. The Blackguard were doing great. And yeah, most of his forces went well. I think what went poorly for Gobbo King was kind of the early Vanguard deployment. I had kind of the better part of that, where I was able to isolate one of his guys and slaughter them. And then on the other flank, I was able to deny him getting around the side. So he ended up losing, some forces unnecessarily just because of the luck of the deployment in the early phase, where I was able to nab a quick victory there. But then after that, I think it was a really close fought battle, as you saw. So definitely a fun one. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and definitely head on over to the main channel where, like I said, I'll be uploading a bunch of stuff on the Roman logistics and supplies, etc., and doing an episode on Garum as well, which will be cool. So yeah, that's it. See you in the next one. Peace out.